In this video, I'm going to put the front end back together on the Datsun. Fenders, front valence, grille, headlight surrounds, everything. While I wait for parts for the suspension and the brakes, I'm going to work on all the sheet metal that's just dangling off the side of the car. Making this video is going to make me finally fix the problem that I've been leaving, or that I have been neglecting for some time. Under this fender, I had to replace a bunch of metal on the body right here. One little spot right here where I blew through. When I was grinding this down, I got a little bit too thin, so I got to cut this out and put a little patch over that. And then everything is good under here. I'll hit this with a light coat of D1635 or something similar. Then we can put the fenders on. First thing I'm going to do is run a beaded seam sealer right along the inner fender, the body here. This is all that metal that I replaced. I just want to make sure that none of this rust or anything like that's going to come back. Right up in here, I've got just that little bitty hole. I think what I'm going to do, cut out just around that, just like that, and patch a new piece in. Okay, there's a little piece right there. Needed to get rid of it. So I'm just going to take this little piece out of this other piece that I messed up when I repaired the front frame section in the Datsun. This was the opposite end of the cutout. Whoops. So this is a little piece of scrap that's already ground down. This is the same as you guys have seen before. I'm gonna mark this out, cut it, hopefully like that, and then hit that with the slice and dice and back on the car. Something else I'm gonna do, because I always forget, is hit this with weld through primer. That way it can be drying while I'm cutting out the piece. Well, shit, if I didn't just pull this right off of the bench and break that wheel. That's a brand new cutoff disc. That should work. All right, let's see how it fits. That, to me, is good enough for who it's for. So I'm gonna hit that with some primer and zap it in. Covered all my good grounds. Well, it ain't pretty, but it's less rusty than it was. I'm gonna hit that with some black paint and we're moving on. So here's some of the parts that I have that I took off originally. Here's the headlight to fender trim, and this is the headlight surround. So these are kind of old, they're kind of rusty. I think I'm going to run these through the sandblaster to see how much better I can make them, and then they'll get a coat of black paint. So these definitely look better than they were, but they're still not very good, especially like this guy. Yep, there's some holes right there. So it's going to get a little bit of rust reformer as a base coat, and then some D1635 over the top. And then someday, when I can stomach how much these cost reproduction, I'll buy new ones. All right, while those dry, I think I'm going to work on the little eyebrow trim pieces, then I'll shoot another coat of paint on those. So for these pieces right here, they actually don't look too bad. So for this, I think to polish this up, I'm going to use a little bit of Mother's Magnet aluminum polish on a rag and just see what I can do. Okay, seriously, look at the difference. This is with 5 minutes by hand polishing that. I have a power cone. I'm going to hook that up in my drill and see if I can do a little better. All right. So after just, I don't know, a few minutes with hand polish and the power cone, I think that's going to be more than good enough for this car. I've got a couple parts here from Z Car Depot. Not sponsored or anything, but hey, you know, Z Car Depot, if you're watching, hit me up. Anyway, so these here are the new rubber trim pieces that go right around the edge here of the eyebrow trim there. So I got new rubbers for those, and then these are actually new rubber seals for where the fenders bolt to the body. We'll get these put on the new eyebrow trim, or the old eyebrow trim. We'll get these rubber pieces put on the eyebrow trim, and then we can put the headlights and stuff. Back out here today. It's late. See what kind of work I can get done. Now, this might shock you, but this fender doesn't fit well. Alright, so this is the little piece of trim that goes just underneath the grille, just above the front valence. One of the brackets was broken off right here, which mounts this thing to the car, so that's like what it's supposed to look like. I'm gonna make one up real quick out of some steel I have on the bench and get that bolted on here, and then I will attempt to try to straighten this thing out a little bit. It's pretty haggard right now, but I think it'll look better than being missing. Fast forward, did a couple of things off camera. Front fenders are now on and at least bolted in solid, as solid as they're gonna go. Front valence is mated up to the front fender. Now don't pay too much attention to this. Obviously this valence was used, it's beat up, it's dented, whatever. Same thing over here. Fender's bolted solid. I did notice this door gap right here. There was a little bit of collision on this door to the fender, and actually if you look, there's a pretty decent dent in this door, so I did tap this a little bit with a body hammer just to kind of, you know, make this obey a little bit better so that the door now opens, and it does without any rubbing at all. And again over here, valence is hooked up, and look at the front end on this thing, huh? Now this is just a yellow film on the headlights. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I posted a short the other day on YouTube, and it seems like most people actually like the yellow, so I may leave it just because it is kind of neat looking with the front of the car. So that's how she's gonna look right there. Obviously there'll be an intercooler, duh, but we're missing one piece. This is the front lip off of the original valence. It's obviously broken, so the install of this thing is going to be cheap, quick, and easy. I just got to peel this one off the old valence and then kind of mock it up on the new one and sink some self-tappers in it. There is one problem with this lip. It's a two-piece lip, and the overlap here where the two are supposed to actually bolt together is broken. So I think I'm just going to drift stitch this thing back together and throw it on the car. We'll put the zip tie head on the bottom side. That way it won't be as visible. There you go. Yeah, that doesn't look awesome, but for this car, I think it'll work. Whoops, for this car, I think it'll work good enough. Okay, a few days later, here is the front end with the lip on there. Man, oh man, this thing looks like a freaking 510 finally. I think I'm gonna switch gears and do one more thing in this episode that is low effort and high reward. I am going to paint and polish these wheels. So the wheels I picked for this car, these are legitimate SSR Formula Mesh wheels. These are a 15x7 with a +1 millimeter offset. I was going for a +0. I was going for a 0 offset wheel just because I know that it fits the Datsun really well. So these are a legitimate 3-piece wheel. The center's actually unbolt from the back right here with a million of these little bolts. So I'm going to pop up all the bolts of every single wheel, and then I'm going to very gently tap the centerpiece out. So I'm going to leave the barrel of the wheel untouched. There should be a layer of sealant between here that should lock the two halves of the barrel together, so this won't disturb anything. That way I can sandblast this and then shoot some paint on it and polish the barrel while I'm at it. Alright, here's one unfortunate circumstance here. Any of you know stainless hardware, right? If it's not super clean or whatever, it can gall. So I've got two nuts right here. Both of them are seized and galled in there tight. I'll see what I can do for that. I don't know if this is going to be a cutoff wheel or a flap disc situation. I'm not sure. For my next trick, I'm going to try to gently heat those two bolts just to see if maybe with a little bit of heat they'll come apart. If not, then we're going to have to resort to probably a flap wheel or a cutoff wheel. Figured it out. So just had to twist on those little bad boys right up until they snap right off. So I'll need two more hex nuts. I'm probably going to run to the hardware store and get some new hardware anyway. Any of this stuff that got galled up is going to be a problem going back together. On to removing the centers. So here's what I've got set up, and this is what I've seen other people do on YouTube, is they'll prop the wheel up on blocks of wood. I have a piece of cardboard in the center, and then gently with another piece of wood across the mounting surface of the wheel, put a piece of wood here, and then gently pound on this to just tap it out of the barrel. Alright, here we are. All the centers are out. I'm going to get these thrown into the sandblaster and then get them primed and ready to go to paint. So these wheels, I'm going to sandblast them. I'm going to try to do it as lightly as possible. I have slightly old abrasive, so I'm hoping that it's not too aggressive. It doesn't create more damage to the center than anything. Oh, here, another interesting tidbit for you. See these little blue towels right here and right here? And right here, get them out of here! I found the best towel. It is these right here. They're made by Intex, cloth-like rags. You can get a 300 count of them at Walmart for $9.95. These things are incredible. You can dry them and reuse them. They hold up to wiping down parts. They don't shred like the blue ones. So there you go, little pro tip. Okay, here we are outside of the sandblaster and went through the parts washer. By that I mean the oil catch was to brake clean. My sandblast media is actually quite worn out. So essentially I've scuffed the powder coat that's there. I'm going to hit this with primer and then a couple coats of black paint and clear, and we're going to hope that that's enough to stick to this. If not, maybe someday in the future I'll be taking these back apart and sending them out to be powder coated. But for now, I'm going to flip all these over. We're going to start with the back, hit them with primer, then hit them with the black paint. Okay, first coat of black is on there. I'm going to let that dry, and while that's drying, I think I'll work on polishing the barrels of the wheels over there. The barrels of these wheels aren't that bad. There is some definite oxidation and stuff here, but first thing I'm going to do is use some spray just to clean off whatever I can. And then I'm going to use a power cone and a mother's bag and aluminum polish that I used on the chrome. That stuff works pretty good for anything that's supposed to be shiny. Kind of get the power cone moving, and then set it into the polish. Get a little bit of it on the end of the cone there, and then we'll go down. I'll probably spread it around here and then go to town with the drill. I've tried the just straight up mother's polish on this once, and I don't know how it looks on camera. It probably looks a little bit better, but there is still some more significant oxidation and a little bit of these like raised areas. So I'm going to try 2000 grit sandpaper. I'm actually going to use Sprayway because I don't have a water bottle. I'm going to spray a little bit of that on there, just kind of lightly sand this and see if I can't get some of that out, and then I'll come back with the polish after that. So I'll be honest, that 2000 cut just a little bit more than I thought it would. Still seems, I mean, I'm hoping most of that will polish out. We'll have to find out, but right now it looks pretty bad. However, it feels way smoother in here. So I'm thinking now the polish will actually have a shot. I think I was expecting too much out of this before, that I should have probably cut that just ever so slightly with the 2000. So dry this off and come back at it with the polish one more time and see what we can get. All right, we're gonna let this dry to a haze and then come back and wipe it off with clean rag and see what it looks like. Hopefully we didn't cut it up too much with that 2000 grit. If so, I can always go get higher grit sandpaper and hit it with the polish again. I actually am running low on this polish, so I might need to run to the store to go get that as well. Second coat on the top side. It's looking pretty good, but I think I'm running out of paint, so I might need one more can just to make absolutely certain that I get good coverage on this. And then I'm gonna hit it with clear. So yeah, probably have to run to the store anyway. I need more polish, need some other stuff, but that's where we're at now. So I've let this dry, went and shot another coat on the centers over there. I'm gonna buff this off real quick and see if we need to go get more sandpaper or something else. So I'm not sure how well this is gonna show up on camera, but this is the unpolished wheel. This is the polished wheel. Maybe this is a better comparison. Unpolished, polished. Alright, well, here they are, post-polishing, and I definitely think they look better. However, there's still some more oxidation in there. I think that's probably the best looking wheel, or I'm sorry, this one here. They look a lot better than before, so I'm off to the store to get some more paint. Maybe I'll get some more polish, and we'll pick back up when we get back. Alright, back from the store, got the last coat of black paint on the centers here, letting that dry. Then I'm gonna hit it with some clear. In the meantime, while the paint is drying and while rims are sitting over there, I have all the hardware here just in a old vinegar bottle with vinegar and then, like, I don't know, half a teaspoon worth of dish soap. And I've just been kind of shaking these around to clean them up, and you can see how cloudy that fluid is already, or how cloudy the vinegar is, how much junk has been taken off. So I'm gonna leave these sit until the centers are dry, and then I'll get some clear on those, and then I can finally reassemble the wheels. First coat of clear on the centers here. Look at these bad boys. They look pretty good. Now this is a gloss clear, so hopefully this works out. I'll let this dry and probably hit at least one more coat on the face, make sure it's nice and thick, and maybe wait till tomorrow, flip them over backwards, hit the backside, and then these will be done. So after a day or overnight of soaking, look at that gross crud in there. This is all the hardware. Just got to drain this out, and then we can actually put the wheels back together. Here they are. I saved you guys the really boring part of watching me put all these bolts back in there. This is how they look, all painted up. So that'll do for that. So while I was working on the wheels, I got some parts for another project that I've been trying to finish up for weeks. I got my helper springs for the coilovers. So I'll walk you guys through exactly what those look like and what I use to set them up, and then I can get those back on the car, get the wheels back on, and get this thing on the ground. Here's what I got to solve the coilover problem. This is a coupling spacer. What this does is it sits inside one spring, and then the helper spring sits inside this edge right here. So it keeps the two springs concentric so that they don't come loose, and get moved around. So this was a very key piece. And then of course, the actual helper spring. So these are Hyperco right there. This is a 4-inch long. I think these are like a 40-pound spring weight. They're very, very, very light. As you can see, I can squeeze them by hand. There is the part number, CS100. And then these coupling spacers right there. Genesis Technology. These are on Amazon. So are these. I will put the links in the description. So I'll show you what these look like. Here is the driver's side strut. So if you look, there's the perch, there's the helper spring, coupling spacer, and then the actual spring. And then here is that machined aluminum top hat from T3, a single washer right here, and then there's the strut bearing on top. So now this whole thing, if I push down on this, you can see that the helper spring is completely or almost completely compressed, and as I let it go and extend, the actual heavy duty spring here goes up and stays in contact with the strut top hat. You go over this one last time. If you make your own coilovers like I did, using a piece of pipe as a perch, and you get a coilover sleeve, what you will need to get this done with 280ZX struts on a 510, you will need a helper spring, a coupling spacer, the actual coilover spring, T3 aluminum top hats, and a washer. And that will get this whole thing to work and stay together inside a 510. All right, I got the wheels back on the Datsun. I got the coilovers all set up, but I've noticed one thing. Those little helper springs, when they're all the way compressed, they add about a 1/4 inch thickness to the, or height, I'm sorry, to the ride height setting. So the front of the Datsun kind of looks like 4x4 right now. I am going to lift it up and see if I can't run those collars down, probably 2 or 3 turns each side, and see if I can't get the ride height back to where I want it. And then I think I'm going to grab the hood, put the hood on here, and then I've got a little surprise for you guys. All right, that was maybe a full turn and a half each side. Let's see if that's enough. We're gonna have to go quite a bit more. So it looks like I'm gonna have to probably go down, I mean, it's crazy, quite a bit. I thought this thing sat lower before. I guess those helper springs must be adding just a tiny bit of height to it. I also added a washer on top of the strut. So that's also gonna add, I mean, it's only about 1/8 of an inch, but it's gonna add to the height. Is a Datsun even a Datsun if it's not low? I wanna worry about getting stuck on leaves. Careful. There. Fits like a glove. Look at that, huh? Holy shit, this thing looks awesome. I've been working so hard to try to get to this exact point right now. So, check this thing out. Look at this thing. It looks like a proper Datsun, finally. Oh man, yeah, hood's just set on there for now, but holy crap does that thing look cool. The new color on the wheels and tires, holy cow. That does it for me. So in the front there, I did actually have to run those coilover sleeves down quite a ways to get that thing to sit essentially level like it is right now. It is tucking more tire in the rear because the rear wheel arch is lower on the body if you look. But look at this thing. Holy shit, what a difference wheels and tires make. I haven't seen this car with all the sheet metal on in quite a while. Damn, that looks good. All right, I got a surprise for you guys. Hello. What is that? That's right, I finally got turbo parts. I have a whole story to tell about how I got those parts and what they are. That is in an upcoming video. I don't have everything yet. I'm still waiting on a couple pieces, but I should have most of what I need to get started putting the kit together and getting things fabricated and installed on the car. Upcoming for this car, you will see all of that. Not to mention, I do have brakes and suspension stuff to do. A whole bunch of different things. So much more to come on this car. So for those of you that like this car, let me know in the comments. For those of you that noticed this right here, that's right. I made these shirts just to work in the shop for me and Steve. If anybody out there's interested in a shirt, let me know. If I have any interest in these, I'll get a whole bunch of them made up. So for those of you out there that are watching, liking, commenting, thank you so much. If you like what you're seeing, subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you in the next one. Thank you.